Hello, and thanks for visiting my channel. My battery's dead, so I'm going to take this opportunity to show you how I replaced it, as well as how to code the car for a new battery. You may notice a change of scenery behind me, no plaid, and that's because I'm in my daughter's 2015 base model Golf. My car's at home and dead. The battery has died on me twice in a matter of 24 hours, and so it must be time for a new one. The discussion forums widely spread that these Mk7 batteries die after about 3 years, and that's because, according to them, Volkswagen is specifying just an adequate battery for the setup, probably part of a cost-saving measure, maybe weight reduction since a smaller battery weighs less. When you go to any auto parts store or to the parts counter at your Volkswagen dealer, you give them a production code on your battery. Actually, the dealer would just pull it up with your VIN. They'll know what it is, but it's going to specify in my car a 2017 GTI Sport, and quite possibly all the GTIs, a Group 47 battery, which also has an H5 on it. I'm not sure what that means. It might be a European coding, I don't know. But I wanted a bigger battery, and the battery tray on my Mk7 has another mounting hole in it, so there is an option to get a larger battery. So I went ahead and spec'd a Group 48 battery, and I did that not because I don't trust Volkswagen engineers, but because I've got an electrical load that's just a little bit higher than the average GTI owner. And so I'm going to go ahead and get a Group 48 dual purpose battery, starter and deep cycle. That way it's something that can tolerate some abuse. I'm doing my shopping at Batteries Plus, and I forget the name of the model that I'm going to drop in, but I'll go ahead and flash an image of it up here on the screen so you can see it. Batteries Plus, I think they carry Duracell, AGM. I don't know if they carry just regular lead acid or not, but I know they have the AGM battery by Duracell, and they also have this AGM battery that I'm going to get. It's a premium battery, and it's got a 5-year warranty, so maybe I'll get 5 years out of it, or maybe I won't. But whatever I do have, it will be it'll tolerate some abuse a little bit better. So let me go ahead and make my way to the store and get this battery, and I'll be back soon to go through the installation. The battery is replaced and everything is working great. I am currently at Batteries Plus, where I'm about to drop off the carcass and get my core charge back. I'm still in my daughter's car because I like to drive from time to time and keep it working while she's away. I did shoot a video of my remove install, but I didn't like the audio from it, so I'm going to do a quick voiceover to fill in the gaps on this video. The tools that you're going to need to remove your battery: you will need a 10mm socket to remove the battery cables. Always remove the negative cable first, then the positive, and then you will need a 13mm socket with extension to get the base plate mount out to remove that. I also needed an 11mm flat wrench for my circuit breaker on top of the battery case. You'll see that I've made mine a little bit more convoluted, so it's not quite as easy to just get out as the factory made it. Lifting out this factory battery is a piece of cake. Even putting one back in there is pretty easy, but the larger Group 48 battery is a little bit more difficult. When you take the battery out, the factory battery, the battery itself is holding the cables out, so when you maneuver them to get them in place, they're out of the way, right? But as soon as you lift that battery out, they're going to fall down like this, and then they won't want to stay out of your way when you go to put the new battery in. And the factory battery is small enough to where you can use a hand and lift the cable out of the way and then maneuver it into place. But the Group 48 battery, it just barely fits where it needs to go. And so to my surprise, I wound up resting the battery on the air box just momentarily, put a little tiny mark on the air box. So if you're sensitive to that kind of stuff, you might want to consider either putting a towel on the air box to keep from marring it, or remove it. If you remove the air box, you'll have so much more room to maneuver that larger battery into place. And so if I were to do it again, I probably would remove the air box. And then obviously once you get it in, you've got less room to maneuver that bracket into place. And then the 13mm bolt holds it down, tighten it down, and then you connect positive cable first, then the negative cable. And if you've got the felt battery liner, of course, don't forget to put that on before you connect your battery cables. I didn't have one, so that wasn't a thought for me. So then once you have the battery installed, don't start the car. You need to code it first. So if you've got VCDS, or in my case I use OBD11, you want to connect to the car. Then you want to go to I believe it's module 19, which is your CAN bus. You'll find an option in there for adaptation, and then find one that says, I think it says battery adapt, and then you'll see a few channels in there for adapting the battery. Your selections will look something like battery brand. It will only take the first 3 letters. I chose SLI because that's the first 3 letters in the part number for my battery. And then serial number, you just have to change one number. And so I went in and put in, I think it's got 10 digits, right? So mine had 10 ones, and then I just changed it to 9 ones and a 2. Some people have actually put in the date instead. So if I were to do it again, I might have done 2019-0630, because that was the date that I changed my battery. And if you do that, you're always going to have a different number every time you change the battery. So, but the car needs to know that you have a different battery in place. If you've changed your amp hour size, which I did, mine, if you look, I put in a 70 for my amp hours, which was wrong. I later had to go back in and change it to a 67, which is what this battery has. And what is the last one? Oh, the last one is, of course, the battery type. And so mine is an AGM. So I selected AGM from the drop-down list, and then you press and hold the check mark to make it accept the settings. And then you back out and you're good to go. Then you start the car and everything works. I didn't have any problems when my car started. I mean, obviously you get the regular ABS sensor, the tire pressure, and then the steering sensor. It looks like, you know, your dash is lit up like a Christmas tree, but don't panic. All you got to do is just drive the car, and the faults will go away within say 30 seconds of driving. My trip odometer got reset. That's not a big deal. And my clock needed to be reset. I did not lose any of my stereo settings, so don't worry about that. And my Windows auto up, auto down features were not reset, so I didn't lose any of that stuff. So I've seen videos where people, put in jumper cables to keep power applied to the car while they remove and install the battery, and it just seems hazardous to me, especially given the way the cables can flop around. So it's just not worth it, in my opinion. You don't lose that much, and it takes maybe 2 minutes to fix it when it's time to replace. So there you have it. That was my effort on replacing the battery. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be glad to answer. As always, thanks for visiting, and feel free to subscribe if you like what I'm doing. I'll see you next time.